Hello, my name is Riley Marino. I am joined by my friend Zach Reitler, and we are here with our lovely guest, Valenzano. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, guys.
And we're here today. We just want to ask you a couple questions. You're a great teacher. I've loved having you in gym, and you're just an upstanding guy. So we just want to ask you a few things. First thing, what made you want to get your teaching certificate? That's just the number one question on my mind.
I often tell people it's funny that it's the family business, if you will. My mother and father were teachers, so kind of all I knew. Ironically, my wife's a teacher and her parents were both in education too, so certainly a family business through and through. Just a great profession to, stay in the education field. To be honest, where I am in phys ed and health, continuing to coach and do extracurricular stuff was important to me. And this field, allowed me to do that. Not that that's, a first priority in a career, but coaching was definitely, a big deal to me, and I was looking forward to building a career there too. And I knew I was into culinary. I knew phys ed would be pretty cool. I actually had an older cousin kind of go major in phys ed, and I said, if that's an avenue, that's something that would definitely interest me at your age, when I was your age, So yeah.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. And just how many years have you worked at CGHS?
Ironically, I've been talking about it with some coworkers this week, so I'll be 45 next week as my birthday, and I've been here 22 and a half years.
Happy early birthday.
We are exactly at, half my life has been spent here in Cedar Grove. This is my 23rd school year. I spent 4 years at Montclair State before I graduated in May of 03, and then started here in Cedar Grove in September of 03 at 22 years old, right out of college. So this is year 23 upon its completion in June, and again, all of them spent in the Cedar Grove schools.
Yeah, that's great.
Congratulations.
Very cool. I think certainly a lot of pride in that, and I'm certainly, my personality-wise is to, stay loyal, find a place. If you're happy there, no reason to, kind of make a move and, get your roots in there and run with it.
Yeah, the people like you here, so.
Really, I appreciate it. I was really excited to get you. I know some of my, coworkers and colleagues have sat down and joined you, but it's a really cool up-and-coming medium that you're working with here.
Yeah.
Just to shoot the breeze, if you will, pick each other's brain, get it documented. And I know ironically, on my way to school, it's more music and vibing out. And on my way home, it's more podcasts and sports talk radio and just, kind of just listening. So there's certainly a place for it. So thank you again.
Yeah, no problem. So what's your favorite part about this job?
It's cliche, but it's certainly the students. Sometimes it's tough to get up early every day and you go through the grind, and especially in the wintertime where we're stuck in. But I will tell you, on a daily basis, my day turns for the better when, the day kicks off and you start interacting. I think phys ed is a different animal for sure. I do like that I have the opportunity to do both, where I start in the classroom with driver's ed, the students are in the desks. I feel like I do contribute. There's so much to talk about, so hopefully you're good drivers. But then the rest of my school year is spent in the gymnasium where, it's your opportunity to kind of quote unquote get away from the desk. That allows me to, my personality to come out a little bit because we interact more. There's more social work. At back to school night, I used to say the 3 S's. If you come in or leave smiling, sweaty, and safe, I reached my job, So I've certainly seen the students change over the years, being here for a couple of decades. I've seen the teenager change, if you will, whether it be the COVID hump, the social media and phones and AI, whatever it happens to be. But it falls on me every day to, make sure that we're reaching those goals and just get you active and setting you up for a lifetime of health and fitness.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it, honestly, having more just being a gym teacher.
Absolutely, and I know, certainly it's one of the few classes that is required for 4 years. I do think that if it was, something that you could choose, an elective, maybe we lose some there. I always joked about maybe having an honors AP, phys ed, and we would just go crazy, but, we've certainly, in the winter months, on one half of the gym, you have your more competitive and people that want to kind of have fun and go crazy, and then more, basic and recreational, where you're you're at least, getting some exercise, but don't want to go too crazy. But we make it work for sure. And we team teach because we just have that one gymnasium where, we try to use the weight room, but the aux gym is used with, cheer mats, wrestling mats. So over the winter, not that we lose that space, but we don't necessarily have it. So we do team teach in our main gymnasium. It works out.
Well, to get away from like gym class, what's like your teaching philosophy when it comes to like driver's ed or like health class?
As a whole, I think I use the term reach them and teach them, if you will. There's a saying that stuck with me a long time ago that students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I really want that to just let that sink in for a second. So, if you're not able to get a student necessarily on your side, or at least understand your expectations and understand where you're coming from, I think it's going to be hard to do your job. So I think, that's first off the bat is to put myself on the table a lot. First day of class, I'm like, this is me, this is my family, this is, my story, my experiences, whether it be coaching, teaching, my years here, and just kind of put it all on the table because I really, I guess have nothing to hide. And I think that resonates with students where I'm someone that they can trust, I hope. I think your character and your reputation is a big deal. So I think that I like to lead by example. I want, after being here 20-something years, I always say 100 or so students per year. I've had over 2,000 former students where, if you went out and polled people that have had Mr. I would hope you would have a similar, feedback from these students that, he does things the right way, keeps things light, but we get things done. And, we all find a way to, make this our home. I often said, especially when I coach, that we spend more time together sometimes than you do with your family. If you're here 8 to 3, and then you participate in something after school, you go home and eat and go to bed. So you're spending a lot of your time at Cedar Grove. So it's important that we make that a positive memory for you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I mean, and of course, I mean, you have been like the positive driving force in like the gym class. Like you make it exciting to come to gym and go play because you come in and you talk to everyone and, you just ask about everyone's day. And it's so nice just to get that like check in.
I think it goes back to that, reach them and teach them, I think, and, looking across the table at you guys and every student's different. Then now as a parent, I have 2 children, a boy and a girl. My son's a junior in high school, so it's ironic to see him at home and know that, I'm dealing with those in his age group here at school. But everybody's different, and some people are, more reserved, more quiet, but if you can, kind of connect with someone on a daily basis, remember somebody's dog had a birthday. Like if they mention that, I'm gonna try to remember that, and then on Monday be like, did you get a pup cup? Did you go for a walk? How was the dog's birthday? And I think it takes time. I always tell my students we're going to have a moment. Sooner or later, you and I will have a moment, whether I, check in with something, know your passions and hobbies. I'm going to try my best to make sure you know that I care about you, and that goes back to what I said. If you know that I care about you, you're going to be on my team, and it shouldn't be teachers versus students. We're in this together. And I think that's, goes back to your philosophy question of how, I like to run stuff for sure. And it's worked for me, nobody's necessarily scared of me. Mr. Jones is the louder, more disciplinarian guy, and we certainly work off each other. Ms. Lasky's a tremendous rule follower, and so I think we all, make sure our strengths shine through when we're together.
Do you have a favorite moment, teaching moment from like a gym class or driver's ed?
That's another question that has come up over the years. But ironically, my favorite moment is reconnecting with former students. When a student will come back and you hear about their success and they're reaching the goals that they set for themselves. Especially if you get those students who jumped into the armed forces. I have a ton of respect for that. Went out and teenagers that have a job. Some of you guys I know, we touch base on where you're going after school and stuff like that. That's definitely a favorite moment for me, is making sure that connections can be made in the most appropriate way. But you as going back to saying that we spend so much time together that, you want to make sure that they're on the right path. And that, if they're able to reach those goals, they come back, thank you so much, you really were a bright spot. That means so much, that means that my goals have been reached, because as teachers, we don't get to see that come to fruition too much. Certainly when you turn the tassel and throw your hat, like you finished your time here, but it's only when teachers get rewarded when we see you reach a lot of your goals, and that's awesome to me.
It's nice. It's cool that you like to keep tabs with people, like get to know them more outside school.
More so with sometimes athletes, if you're a coach, that's where that extra bond and time is spent. But again, just seeing here and there, I know just touching on our softball team last year was just so successful, and a couple of those ladies, are earning roles at their school, even as freshmen, and so I'm trying to follow along, with that too. So obviously in my realm of work, athletics has a big, highlight for me too.
Yeah. Well, for our last question, is there any advice you could give out to anybody, or that you've heard in your life that you think is like inspirational for people to know?
That's a good question too. I think I'm going to go back to a recent statement I made to say, just work with your strengths. Do what works for you. Surround yourself with, people that you think are making the right decisions too. I want my students to know that it's never too late to change. It's never too late to turn that corner to positivity. It's mental emotional health is a big deal nowadays. A lot of people brush their teeth at night, look up in the mirror, and they're just not happy. And like that hurts me a lot. There's students in this school that, visit the main office a lot for negative reasons, but it's never too late to change that reputation. And I always urge my students to find someone they trust, whether it be me, a counselor, a teacher, a coach. That's our job here in the building. So we want to make sure that you are, you being the student body, in a good place, taken care of, knowing that we're all kind of in this together, because that's certainly priority number one is safety and happiness.
Well, I really appreciate you sticking up for the people around you. That's all the questions we got for you today. So I want to thank you, Mr. V.
Thank you so much
for coming out for the podcast. We all just wanted to say we appreciate, I appreciate just the way you, like you said, just get away with all the kids, like you just like talking to them, getting to know them more and seeing what they do after school.
Yeah, everything you do, it's great, man. I really appreciate everything you do for the school.
This was, as I said, teachers rarely get a report card. So for me, I had told my wife, I'm on a podcast. So, very cool to be, invited. Proud of you guys for enjoying this class. I know Mr. Valenzano is a tremendous mentor. And again, hopefully you're leaving Cedar Grove with, great memories, great foundation.
Yeah, appreciate it. So one last thanks to you. Thank you for coming on here.
Yeah,
that was Mr. Valenzano's interview. Thank you. Have a good one.
Have a good one.